music we share with each other too. So that, you know, like the things we listen to, the things we see, it inspires also how we feel when we write. And I think that's natural to be inspired what you sort of know, and then you can take it creatively from there. You know, like you said, keep it simple based off the things you that inspire you musically already with other bands or other artists, you know, and then build on what truly inspires you to make it your own track.
I think that's like a really good philosophical approach to how you should put together songs or even a band and focus on the members and the chemistry. One other thing that I really take into account when I approach a song is tempo and tuning. I think the parts that I write for the songs are strongly influenced by how fast the song is and what type of instrument I'm playing it on. If I have a song that's in drop A flat, like a lot of our 7-string stuff, it happens to be more dark sounding and more groovy, like groove focused. And with the 6-string stuff, it tends to be more notey and faster. It really depends on that kind of stuff. So that's kind of one of the things I think about first whenever I approach those.
Thanks for the question. Help? Yeah, right here with the mohawk. What's the question?
The question is if we sort of sit with a click and work with that, or if we like have existing ideas and we kind of combine them. I think everybody has a slightly different way of putting it together, and the important thing is that there's no right way to do this. What I'm really going to stress is that you should do what's right for you, regardless of what I say today. I'm really just telling you what I do. And that's not necessarily the right way for everybody. So don't ever let anyone tell you to do it wrong.
It never happens the wrong way for us, though. It's like, it's never, when we sit down in a room all the time, just do a click and write. You know, we've done that, but that's never been like a catch-all way to write for us. Like, sometimes I'll have an idea, or like I'll have an idea that I'll rather say, me and band, like, oh, let's do 5 people apart, let's try and smash those together, just to see if it works. Other times, it's like you said, it's like, you get in a room, you have a click, and you just sit there and write, and you get a bug up your ass and the rest of the cool. But it's not, you know, it's not the only way to write.
What I would also say is it also takes a bit of introspection, because you need to like take a step back from what you write. Like, let's say you do smash 2 ideas together, which we've tried, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it really doesn't work. Even though it technically does, it's like these things go off together. And it kind of takes a little bit to honestly take a step back, take some time away from it, look back, you know, because you worked all hard on it, and you're like, oh, I said hard on. Sorry. But you worked hard on it, and where was I? And sorry, yeah, now this is clinic over. No, but seriously, you're going to want to like it because you put so much work into it. So sometimes it is very useful to just take like a week or 2 away, and then you can be so much more objective about it. Especially if you've written something else since then. That's kind of what it'll take for you to be like, yeah, you know what, maybe that idea's not so crazy. You know, and also taking advice from people who you trust. Like, I trust all these guys, I trust their opinions. I don't trust everybody's opinion, but it's important to do what these guys think. So if they come together like that, it's not so hot, and I'm like, hey, maybe I'm just kind of in, you know, the honeymoon period with this song that he's not done. Obviously, like, that will wear away. No, okay, I can do it. So I think that's important, kind of putting ideas together. Again, there's no one way that we do it. All the ways that you described have led to songs. I think the only way that we really haven't put a song together just yet is by actually joining in a room, like kind of old school, which a lot of people would argue is like the real way to write a song. So, but whatever works for you, you know.
Same question in the back, yes.
How do you guys normally rehearse?
How do we normally rehearse?
We don't. Like this.
This is, what do you mean? What it is? You know, the thing is, we both really play, or we all really play a lot on our own, at home. We all kind of live a bit far from each other. So I think we're always working on our parts and stuff, practicing separately. And then we typically come together before we tour, and we'll do, you know, we'll rehearse. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't say.
We rehearse a lot. We come together before a tour, and we we just make sure that the sets flow well, we make sure the gear's working, we play through the songs. And a lot of times, you know, I'm sure you guys know this too, if you play bands and you play shows, when you're practicing, it's very hard to get the same level of intensity as you get at the show anyway. So we practice our parts, make sure we're sounding good, and we, you know, correct each other in a nice way, which is cool. And we go out, we really, you know, first couple nights of tour are usually like rough nights in ways because of that energy, you know, and just getting it going. So that's, I don't know, practice there too.
But a good point is that there's no amount of practice that can prepare you for playing live because, as Matt says, the energy is so different, you'll react to it so differently that you kind of just have to do it and figure out, like, oh, wait, like, I can't play this like that. I'm not pulling it off.
Once the adrenaline kicks in,
Yeah,
it's a totally different experience.
Completely different.
One thing I wanted to say is don't take a good rehearsal space for granted because we are constantly looking for places to practice, and we have a lot of good friends that let us practice in their place, and when we do, we end up playing better the first couple of shows, but sometimes we can't, and we end up rehearsing the first day of the tour. So if you guys can find a good rehearsal space or a dedicated rehearsal space, it's pretty important. I think we would be a more proficient band if we had that opportunity. But since we live so far apart and Maryland isn't very accommodating for bands in general, it's hard to find a good place to practice. So that's something to think about when you're rehearsing.
Something I just want to point out as well is we're not using rehearsals to actually figure out our own parts. We're all going into very well rehearsed. So we're not wasting time in rehearsing. It's really way of making the most of the rehearsals that we do get. We've also played together for several years at this point, so we kind of know what it feels like. I live quite a lot further away from these guys than they do from each other, so there have been a number of tours where I've kind of flown in on the first day or even recently halfway through a tour because the visa problems out. So my first time ever in certain songs might be on stage. I mean, it's bass.
The one skill that enables us to do this is all of us are able to sort of learn parts on our own, not transcribe, but sort of just learn things by ear. Every single one of us, so that's a big part of our sort of routine. That's why we can get together to pick up and just start running, you know, through the songs because we already know our parts. And it would be a lot more, I guess, laborious that we had to sit there and like learn our parts. Okay. Learn your parts before you start practicing, is what I was saying.
Talk loud.
One other thing I wanted to mention is that when we don't always learn the parts by ear. So there's a lot of layering that goes on. We have 3 guitar players. It's very difficult to discern what each individual is playing. So me, Art, Misha, and sometimes Molly when he's in town, we all get together and we start to go through our recording projects and dissect each layer and see who would be best suited to play the layers. So that's another way that we rehearse. It's not playing as a full band, but we're figuring out what parts are going to be played live, because there are a lot of parts that do get sacrificed to play the stuff live because we layer a lot. So once we figure that out, that's also part of the rehearsal process.
He asked carbon 6-string or JPX. Is that a what do I prefer type of question? Yeah. Okay. He's asking about my the neck on my 6-string. Yeah, that's a roasted maple neck. It cooks the humidity out of the neck, so it's a little bit more stable when we tour. And that's really invaluable because sometimes you pick up a guitar after a flight or something like that, and you're like, oh my god, it's the same guitar. Because the wood warps, basically. But yeah, it's roasted to cook out the humidity, so that stabilizes the neck quite a bit. But yeah.
How many of you guys are guitar players?
Yeah, guitar players. Oh yeah.
Okay. That's a relevant question.
Yeah. Cool. Drummers?
Ooh. Singers.
Maybe.
What about keyboard players? Here's my dude.
Did you have another part of the question?
He asked when my Ibanez signature is going to be available. The 6-string version will be available in July. You can actually pre-order it at any Ibanez dealer. They have a UBC for it, so you have to ask Ibanez because they haven't confirmed it yet. But I would really like to, and that's probably the most asked question that I get.
Sean, when is Nolly's bass coming out? Wow.
That's actually out already. The first order I think is sold out. If you get in touch with them directly, they'll be placing them out. The order's been placed. We're just about to finish. I got an email just before this. Hopefully the final version will be placed. Real time out.
Right here in the corner. With the, oh, sorry, behind, we'll get you next. Behind you with the tie. Sure. So to all the drummers in here, I play vinyl cymbals, and the stack is it consists of a 18-inch Byzance china on the bottom that's just flipped kind of upside down, and then I put on top a vinyl Byzance 17-inch jazz medium thick crash on top of it, and it just makes a nice sound. You can loosen it up, like get real tight. You can loosen the bit, it becomes more washy. That's cool. It's fun. Yeah, check out vinyl cymbals. That's what happened. The question was, how do we work around other obligations like jobs or school? I think something that's important for everybody here, if you guys want to make music your career, you know, and really do that for a living, you have to commit to it. That becomes the thing that you do, you know. So you may need to do other things to supplement your income so you can do music, but you have to dive in fully, and that's kind of what we've all done. We've all made the decision to do music, make that the main focus, and try to do things within that realm. You know, I think if this is what you want to do and you truly want to do it, then that's what you have to do. Is this. But that goes for anything you really want to do. If you want to be the best doctor, or the best lawyer, or the best garbage man, just do it the best you can and give yourself to it completely. And everything else will sort of fall into place. It's a more, you know, philosophical way to look at it. But really, make that the focus and then build everything else that you need around it.
I would comment on that as well and say, you know, we get a lot of people asking us about like what the right way is to approach that, because a lot of people say, oh well, I'll do this job and I'll kind of do music as a hobby, and that seems right, and that seems like a good approach. But the truth is, if you treat music as a hobby, it'll just stay a hobby. Your thing you give your priorities to, like that's what's going to be your main thing, and it'll just stay that way. It's not ever going to just flip over magically. And the truth is that there are bands that are making it their priority and figuring everything else around it, which, you know, it's rough, and it requires being creative, whether that means that you find jobs where you can go on tour, you know, for a month at a time or more, and, you know, a lot of people wait tables, bartenders, just any job that you can do, or if you can make a job for yourself or have some sort of thing that allows you to be able to put in time for music. If you want to be on call for music, that's the only way that you'll have a chance. And that doesn't guarantee you anything. That just lets you play the game. Because there are bands that are out doing it 24/7. So there's no way that like you doing it sort of casually is going to allow you to overtake them without some massive amount of luck, and you can't count on that. So absolutely, if you want even a chance at a music career, you have to go in head first, and you have to realize that there's a pretty good chance it won't work out, and that has to not matter.
One of the most important things I realize is that your family, your friends, all these people who support you in what you do, you're going to disappoint them eventually. They're going to expect you to come to a birthday or a wedding or some sort of thing, and then you either have to choose between the gig or that. And sometimes you have to make really hard decisions. So, you know, like figuring out where your priorities are. You know, I've had to, you know, I pissed off so many girlfriends by doing this job. So, you will, and the kind of the thing that you have to establish with your family, your girlfriend, your friends, is that you will disappoint them, and it's just it's the nature of the work, it's the nature of the job, and it has to be respected. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to go and
deliberately disappoint people, but there will come a time when you have to make a hard decision, and you need to be able to do it. You need to be able to stay strong to it.